If you're joining us for the first time this morning, welcome. I bring greetings from the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson's outpost on Vulcan. I am Mr. Spock II, and my earthly name is Carl Dieter. I'm a member of the UU Fellowship of Clemson's Worship Associates team. It's good to be here and to be with you. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life journey, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, wherever you were born, whatever language you speak, you are welcome here. Whatever your skin color, whatever your class background, whatever your range of abilities, you are welcome here. It is humane and logical that we welcome you all. We are so glad that you chose our fellowship as your place of worship this morning. We come together to worship in order to slow down and listen for the callings of our heart, our spirits. We come together to worship so that we can be reminded of our highest aspirations and continue to transform ourselves into our best selves. After the service, we gather for coffee and social connection in the social room. Please join us. If you are interested in getting our weekly newsletter so you can get connected to our community, our weekly sharing of joys and concerns, and our collective efforts to support local social justice work, please reach out to the office by the email on our website. Most of the announcements are on the back of the bulletin or in the weekly newsletter. However, I would like to make a few other announcements. Beyond categorical thinking, you have to reserve by today, and that is a link in the website. It is going to be on November 5th from 1 to 4:30 p.m. I'd also like to bring this opportunity to remind you that the Ministerial Search Committee is holding open cottage meetings. These are on Wednesday, November 2nd in the sectionary at 7 p.m. Sunday, November 13th, I think in the social room at noon, and on Wednesday, November 16th, and that is at 2 p.m. in the social room. So I would encourage everyone to attend these meetings and to let your voices and thoughts be heard as we go through this search process. And the movie night is on Saturday, November 5th. Please stand and join me, if you will, in hymn 128, For All That Is Our Life. The opening words will be spoken from the heart and therefore read by Carl. On this last Sunday of October, and at a time of year when our Christian forebears recognized the tradition of All Souls Day, I offer these opening words by Unitarian Universalist minister Max Coots. When love is felt or fear is known, when holidays and holy days and such times come, when anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness, when seasons come as seasons do, old and known, but somehow new, when lives are born or people die, when something sacred sensed in soil or sky mark the time. Respond with thought or prayer, or smile or grief. Let nothing living slip through the fingers of the mind. For all these things are holy things, and we cannot find them again.
Thank you so much, Spock and Carl, for your help. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist traditions, and it reminds us that our faith is about compassion and courageous action, and that we must bring healing and hope where we need it into the wider world, so that we can have that for ourselves and share that with others. So at this time, I will light the chalice. We also recite the words of affirmation every week together. I ask you to do so from the heart, as Spock would not have appreciated, but we do so each week because it's meaningful to this community and holds us and binds us together. We gather together in a spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to care for one another. Today we are honoring those who came before us and connecting ourselves back to our ancestors, as far back as our memory allows and the family stories allow. And we have a really lovely story about a quilt.
Morning. This morning's story is from one of my favorite children's authors. Some of you might be familiar with her work, Patricia Polacco. This one is The Keeping Quilt. When my great-grandma Anna came to America, she wore the same thick overcoat and big boots she had worn for farm work. But her family weren't dirt farmers anymore. In New York City, her father's work was hauling things on a wagon, and the rest of the family made artificial flowers all day. Everyone was in a hurry, and it was so crowded, not like back home in Russia. But all the same, it was their home, and most of their neighbors were just like them. When Anna went to school, English sounded like pebbles dropping into shallow water. Shh, shh, shh. In 6 months, she was speaking English. Her parents never learned, so she spoke English for them. The only things she had left of back home Russia were her dress and babushka, or shawl, which she liked to throw up into the air when she was dancing. And her dress was getting too small. After her mother had sewn her new one, she took her old dress and babushka. Then, from a basket of old clothes, she took Uncle Vladimir's shirt, Aunt Havela's nightdress, and an apron of Aunt Natasha's. "We will make a quilt to help us remember home," Anna's mother said. "It will be like having the family in back home Russia dance around us at night." And so it was. Anna's mother invited all the neighborhood ladies. They cut out animals and flowers from scraps of clothing. The border of the quilt was made of Anna's babushka. On Friday nights, Anna's mother would say the prayers that started the Sabbath. The family ate challah and chicken soup, and the quilt was the tablecloth. Anna grew up and fell in love with great-grandpa Sasha. To show he wanted to be her husband, he gave Anna a gold coin, a dried flower, and a piece of rock salt, all tied into a linen handkerchief. The gold was for wealth, the flower for love, and the salt so their lives would have flavor. She accepted the hanky, and they were engaged. Under the wedding chuppah, Anna and Sasha promised each other love and understanding. When my grandmother Carly was born, Anna wrapped her daughter in the quilt to welcome her warmly into the world. Carly was given a gift of gold, flour, salt, and bread. Gold, so she would never know poverty. A flower, so she would always know love. Salt, so her life would always have flavor. And bread, so that she would never know hunger. When Carly married Grandpa George, again, the quilt became the chuppah. In Carly's wedding bouquet was a gold coin, bread, and salt. Carly and George moved to a farm in Michigan, and great-grandma Anna came to live with them. The quilt once again wrapped a new little girl, Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen called Anna Lady Grandma. She had grown very old and was sick a lot of the time. The quilt kept her legs warm. When great-grandma Anna died at 98 years old, prayers were said to lift her soul to heaven. My mother, Mary Ellen, was now grown up. When Mary Ellen left home, she took the quilt with her. When she became a bride, the quilt became her chuppah. She too had a bouquet with gold, bread, and salt. The quilt welcomed me, Patricia, into the world. And it was the tablecloth for my first birthday party. At night, I would trace my fingers around the edges of each animal on the quilt before I went to sleep. I told my mother stories about the animals on the quilt. She told me whose sleeve had made the horse, whose apron had made the chicken, whose dress had made the flowers, and whose babushka went around the edge of the quilt. The quilt was a pretend cape when I was in the bull ring, or sometimes a tent in the steaming Amazon jungle. At my wedding to Enzo Mario, in my bouquet were gold, bread, and salt, and a sprinkle of wine so I would always know laughter. 20 years ago, I held my own daughter in the quilt for the first time. Someday, she too will leave home, and she will take the quilt with her.
And you'll see on the chancel there are 2 quilts here that actually came from the Hebel household, and one of them was hand-stitched. The blue one was hand-stitched, and for those of you who sew or do arts, you know the many hours of love that went into that project. And the other was a gift from a college friend for Catherine.
One of Tom's best friends, his mother, made it when our eldest daughter was born. She gave it.
One of Tom's friend's mother gave it to you when Catherine was born. And I imagine you probably used it for all your children.
Yes.
Yes, how lovely. I don't know about you, but I have a bundle of quilts myself in my closet, 3 from generations, and I don't use them because they're so fragile, but they are precious, and I will never get rid of them. They are not an object, they are a memory. And that is what we're doing here today, remembering and putting precious things back into our minds. Speaking of precious things, one of the things that's precious in our lives, because it's something that helps us move closer to who we are and the values, is what we spend our money on. And this is the time in which we will be passing the plate. A time for giving is not just a time for sharing our money, but it's also an acknowledgement of the time and the treasure that everybody gives to bring this place together. It is such a lovely thing. When I come in the morning on a Sunday morning, often people are here before me. I see people in the kitchen making coffee, and the bulletins are being handed out, and flowers are being brought from your gardens. There is such an amount of sharing and generosity here, and I want to thank you for all that you do. Do we have children who want to collect it? Do we have any canned goods today or any food? Any things? Yay, great. Let's bring the wagon. Great costume. These gifts are welcomed with gratitude, and know that they come deep from your heart. I'm going to do joys and concerns from up here today because we have lots of things in our area, and I would like to share from Ellen Few a joy. John and Sarah's sweet wedding. They had a privilege to attend it, and it was joyful. Thank you. Barbara Stroop. Later today, my significant other arrives from Massachusetts. Yay! And later in the week, my work is on display at the Gateway Arts Center. How fantastic. That's wonderful.
Is that in Westminster?
It is. In Westminster. And I've been watching the recordings and realizing that when you say things, the people at home cannot hear them, and so I'm doing my best to repeat them. So I just wanted to explain to you why I'm doing that. Today is a day for me that I celebrate that this season is a time of acknowledging grief, but it's also a time of remembering. It's a time when many cultures and traditions around the world feel that there's a veil between those who have gone and those who are still here. And I myself am putting this stone in for my mother. This stone is for all the things that have not been spoken or shared yet. May we be there with you when you are ready to celebrate or need a helping hand. And now we will sing The Children on the Way, which I don't think I put on the order of service. It's there? I did it. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. There's going to be some spookiness in the coffee hour for those of you who are here afterwards, and I think the children are involved in preparing for that, so look forward to that. Let us now quiet ourselves and take a deep breath and feel the weight of our mortal body holding us still in these chairs. May we feel the weight of our feet on the floor and the comfort of our still hands on our laps. Today is the day about remembering the persons we have loved and lost, those that inspired us, cared for us, and journeyed with us. In preparation for this, I share this poem. The author, Jan Richardson, read this one statement by Henry David Thoreau, and the poem came from that. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "There is no remedy to love, but to love more." She begins, "Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it is better to have had this pain than to have done without it. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how the heart so broken can go on beating, as if it were made for precisely this, as if it knows the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still, as if it trusts that its own persistence pulse of its rhythm is a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but we know will save us nonetheless. In a moment, we will be invited to say the names of those who we remember today, and later we will be lighting candles, not only for those people, but for those who came before us, our ancestors. It is right to remember these names in a community of faith, and it is holy to bring their voices together, to have them overlap in this moment as we bring this space to the memory of these people. I say the names Lisa, Cameron Thayer, Grandmother Lola Balky, and Great-Grandmother Mum. Please say your names aloud. It's beautiful. I spent some time praying and meditating, sitting amongst Tibetan monks in Thailand, where I heard the whoosh of sounds, just the sounds of human speech around me. And that's what it felt like when I just heard your names all together collectively. These are prayers, prayers of thanks and gratitude and honoring the people that came before us. We hold them in our hearts today and in this loving community, and may the memories of them comfort and encourage us now and always. This is our prayer. Thank you. Amen. And now the choir will sing a beautiful song.
Well, the headdress gave an echo while I was reading it. Sounded like Carl and Spock's usual engagement. A reflection on All Hallowtide. This is the time of year in the Christian calendar when there is focus on dying and remembering the dead. Halloween is a contraction of All Hallows Evening, which is a vigil for the November 1st All Hallows Day, venerating the Christian saints. All Souls Day, honoring and remembering the dead, follows on November 2nd, completing the liturgical celebration of All Hallowtide, remembering the saints, martyrs, and all the deceased. Traditions of trick-or-treating or souling, dressing up in costumes, and ghoulish attractions appear to be a mixture of pagan and Christian practices that offer festive activities to deal with death and dying. I find a special affection and affinity for Jack O'Lantern, a soul that was denied entry to both heaven and hell, and thus wandered the earth with a lantern, seeking a place of rest. Evidence that human cultures place a high value on its dead emerged from the earliest collections of human artifacts and is seen in the disposal of human remains today. In Jewish and Muslim traditions, the body is washed, clothed in a white garment, and buried within 24 hours. And for Muslims, cremation is not an option. This respect is sometimes extended to enemies, and I experience profound admiration for religious values actually practiced and a sense of reverence for the dead when I read about the United States military's disposal of Osama bin Laden's body. His body was transported to a United States aircraft carrier, washed, covered in a white sheet, and after ceremonious religious remarks translated into Arabic, buried at sea. Buddhism and Hinduism strongly promote the environmentally sustainable practice of cremation. Perhaps the present-day Tibetan sky burial, mirroring some Native American practices, where the body of the deceased is offered to nature and wild animals, is the most ecologically sound burial practice today. In South Carolina, green burials offer an opportunity to honor the deceased with a natural burial process, which often contributes to a nature preserve. We honor the dead in a variety of yearly rituals. Every year, Janice flies to California and practices Qing Ming, which involves a sweeping of the graves and placing flowers at the site, burning paper money, offering food to the deceased, saying a prayer, and sharing a meal at the gravesite. Why do we honor and remember the dead? Bobby Harrington and Daniel McCoy, writing in Real Life Theology, posit that we remember the dead on a personal level, to mourn them, honor them, and to know our own story. On a larger scale, we remember the dead to gain wisdom, avoid mistakes, seek justice, face mortality, and to understand that death gives life. We largely mourn the dead immediately following their passing by the care of the body and its disposal, and the rituals of remembering their life. We honor the dead by keeping mementos of them in our homes, telling their stories to our children, and performing annual rituals, as Janice does with her parents. This respect reflects a moral recognition of the debt and benefits of the legacy the departed have bequeathed to us. The fifth commandment of the Hebrew Bible instructs us to honor our father and mother, for they have given us life. And this transcends any failures of parenting, which we acknowledge by our constant fear of death. We also honor those who have made sacrifices on our behalf, such as all soldiers who have fought and died honorably in war, including those on the losing side. In America, we should honor the founding fathers who bequeathed to us the ideals of the Declaration of Independence and a form of government that allows, however flawed, the ceaseless opportunity to create a more perfect union. On a grander scale, we should honor the pantheon of men and women who have shaped affirmative aspects of civilizations across the globe. The positive and aspirational legacy and heritage of Western civilization revolves around the axes of Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome, where Jerusalem gave us monotheistic religion and the sacred value of the individual soul, while Athens showed the power of reason, rationality, and philosophy. And Rome offered the practical benefits of republican government and the rule of law. It may surprise you to hear that Roman law codified marital consent, although only for women citizens. These legacies of the West are enshrined in the Unitarian Universalist 7 principles, particularly in the first, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The fourth, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And the fifth, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. We remember loyal and generous kin, as well as the prodigal sons and daughters, while globally we remember all the saints and heroes, as well as the villains, to grasp and understand the vast range of human nature, gain wisdom, and seek to avoid mistakes that are clearly mapped. We remember inspirationally those who fought for justice, seeking to expand ideals that are often not inclusive. We remember and mourn the dead to remind us of our own mortality, that we may treat our life as precious and a gift that we pay forward with gratitude. In acknowledging our mortality, we come to see that life and death are conjoined, and neither is possible without the other. In this mourning, perhaps death humbles us, thereby encouraging an orientation toward justice and mercy. Despite my misanthropic tendencies, I am making a plea that in the coming days of All Hallowtide, we set aside anger, recriminations, and hubris to honor the dead by reflecting upon the gifts they have given us and the injustices they have perpetuated, so that we may gain wisdom, seek justice, and express profound gratitude for the gift of life through the lives we live. May you live long and prosper. Scotty, beam me up.
Thank you. Our opening words from Reverend Max Coots reminds us when lives are born or people die, it is good to mark the time. As a faith community, we will now mark the time by honoring the dead together with our ritual of remembrance. This is our time to honor those persons you have cherished, loved, and admired, and also of those memories that hold you sometimes in pain and you need to let them go. So please take this time to light a candle, one candle for all of your memories collectively, to create a sacred and respectful place for all of us in our thoughts and in our prayers, in our smiles and our grief. We participate in this ritual with quiet music. And once everyone has come forward, we will participate in a litany and naming ritual together. So we will light our first candles from the chalice. Thank you. Carol, will you turn off 2 of the lights? Thank you. And I invite you to come forward. I invite you now to find the reading 720 in your gray hymnal. In the rising of the sun, and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind, and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds, and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blues of the sky, and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves, and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys and we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they persons we have loved and lost are always with us in our minds and in our hearts. This is core to the theologies that many of us share. May we go from here remembering their precious gifts that they have given to us, and may we commit to living our own lives in a way that passes along the best of who they were, and to those we may love and meet today. May our service end, and may we go in peace. It doesn't want to go out. It's a Halloween thing. Oh, and we're going to sing. Let's sing, Comfort Me. Number 1002. Thank you. And now, Paula and Jorge have a beautiful medley for us. If you would take a seat for the postlude.